Hello, dear digital ship friends. Welcome to our sixth webinar about startups in working in maintenance area. We are your hosts, Vida and Carl Jeffries from Digital Ship, and we have invited a very interesting three startups to talk today. So Maindeck from Oslo, Vesselman also from Oslo, and oculavis from Germany. Please, you are welcome to ask the questions, and we will go to your questions after each 10 minutes presentation from our speakers. So I'd like to invite Carl Jeffries to give a bit of an overview about maintenance effectiveness and why we're looking at this topic.
Okay, so thank you, Vida. So we've been trying to cover maintenance in digital ship events for about 20 years now, and in the early days, it was always the part which got very little interest. People saw it as very boring. The exciting part of the conferences were all about satellite communications, and it's great to see that that's changing now. I mean, maintenance is one of the most important things that a shipping company does. I guess what shipping companies do is maintain ships and operate ships. If you put the financial part to one side, and we've got massive challenges. We've got companies want to keep the costs down, and there's lots of very expensive equipment and dry docks that have got to be used to maximum efficiency, and also maintenance needs enormous expertise. So you want to get the right experts in touch with the right problems at the right time. So these are almost enormously high value problems. So and then we've also got these massive advantages in technology with sensors and cloud and this kind of thing, which companies can take advantage of. So we've got three companies today which are showing a new pathway here. We've got two companies which are hitting on this massive challenge of getting the most efficient dry dock you possibly can, and one company which is touching on this challenge of getting the right expert to help with the right problem, so you can align the expertise with the problem as easily as possible using advanced technology. So I think this is all very interesting, and it's great to see how interesting maintenance is going to be. So first of all, I'm going to invite Sasan Mameghani, who's the CEO of Maindeck, based in Oslo, and they've made a tool for superintendents to better manage and understand where they are with dry docking. So I'd like to welcome Sasan. Cheers.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Should I just start with my presentation then? Is that
yes?
Great. I'll let's see here. I have to share the right screen first. Like so. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So okay, yeah. I'm Sasan, and founder and CEO of Maindeck, based in Oslo. I would like to start with actually my background. I started working at a shipyard many years ago as a mechanic, essentially working on the stuff you see in the background picture there. A long time ago, where I obviously gained a lot of experience, a lot of valuable experience, of course. But what I did, I witnessed at first hand how important it is with a good communication flow between the yard and the ship owner. So the situation today is that information is scattered, and that means that people are stressed and things slip. So that's why with Maindeck, this is what we set out to solve, and more specifically for the dry docking projects. So just to begin by explaining a little bit more about the dry docking projects, this is probably known to all, but very briefly. So dry docking projects are very complex and lengthy processes, and you have to start preparing long in advance before the actual dry dock. So then during a 10-day time period, you have hundreds of work orders to be completed and followed up on, and several companies involved at the same time. And it's simply just an overwhelming situation for the owner's representative. So this leads to huge cost overruns and delays. And yeah, that's what we set out to solve. So with Maindeck, we created what we call single source of truth for all phases and all stakeholders of a vessel's dry docking project. And what that means, to be a bit more specific, we have a cloud-based tool which with a wide range of functionality, which then is meant to empower the owner's representative at the yard during the entire process. And all of these tools follow the user throughout this dry docking process. So from the very first inspection to planning, to yard selection, the execution at the shipyard, and then finally closing, which is shown here. So these 4 different phases, we help the owner's representative and empower them along these processes. So during each of these phases, there are of course a lot of challenges that they meet, very different challenges, and very challenges that can lead to a lot of cost overruns along the way. So already at planning, you're sort of already determining a lot on how the actual project execution is going to go. So it's sort of, you can't just focus on one phase, you have to focus on all the phases in order to solve the problems. So I want to very briefly go through each and one of them, and how we help the users, the owners' representatives, and also what the problems are. So for project planning, it's a big problem that you have a lot of people involved in creating a project specification. They're working, some on land, some on board, and then you have a lot of different versions of the same project specification. And it's really hard to get an overall view of the project, where the project stands, what is the actual scope, and more importantly, to then improve this over time. So let's see here. So for the planning phase, we have, like I said, a cloud-based solution. Everyone is on the same page at all time, working on the same project specification in real time. So you can invite all your colleagues also from the vessel, where they can then work together at once. You can import from a planned maintenance system. You can use standard work orders, and you can also add new work orders. You can have the crew add work orders through also our mobile inspection app, which functions offline. So we have a mobile app that functions offline that can be used both here in planning stage, but also in execution stage. And you can easily share this with the shipyard and others at any time. So then comes the yard selection part. So the issue now is to invite shipyards, get price quotations from them, get it as detailed as possible, so that you have the documentation you need for the execution stage, and also avoid as much manual work as possible. So what we've created here is a platform where you can invite shipyards. When they send you the price quotations, they are automatically compared in a comparison matrix. It's on the cost item level, so we don't just have a price per work order, because in reality, when they send you the final bill, it's very divided into small pieces. Those same pieces are covered in Maindeck with the per unit cost, lump sums, with all the notes from the shipyards. Everything is captured and documented throughout this process. So when they then select the shipyard which they've selected, all the quotations and information provided by that shipyard is moved along. So it sort of takes the project specification, the quotations, and it's used then in the execution stage to empower the owner's representative, because that is very critical information that cannot just be scattered around. You're going to need it at your fingertips at the yard. And so when you get to the yard, then there's the problem of you have 10 days, maybe 200 work orders. So that's on average 20 work orders that needs to be completed per day. So it's a lot of things happening, a lot of companies involved, and a lot of people involved, and a lot of things that can go wrong. So what they do today is that they have to go and chase this information manually. Let's see. So what we created, instead of them having to chase this information and go in and out of meetings and walk around to sort of try to find where they should focus their attention, using our mobile inspection app, they can delegate access to not only themselves and the crew, but also the shipyard, any third party, any service provider, and class society. All of them that are working on various work orders can get access to those specific work orders on the mobile app to provide updates. And those updates are then coming into the user, so that they just get this feed of all the updates of everything that's happening on the vessel. Again, this mobile app functions offline fully. It updates automatically when it finds when it registers internet connection. So then instead of having to chase this information and trying to find out where they should focus and being reactive, they can be proactive and have all the information come to them. It's easier to see where they should focus their attention. And all of this information coming in, it's like I mentioned earlier, single source of truth. So then that's again processed back in the Maindeck, and then it's used to produce daily reports for the users, which they can either send out or edit. It's used in the cost control together with all the variation orders, and also later for the final report, which brings me to the last point, which is, let's see here, closing. So 2 issues at closing. One of them is, of course, getting the final prices, the final negotiation. So although the final prices are imported, and then it's easy, we sort of we help the owner's representative know where they should focus their attention, because the problem today is that they're overcharged, and we then are able, because of all the information that's been stored, we can tell them exactly what they need to focus on, which prices are too high, which are okay. Also, based on information that's stored, we generate the first draft of the final report, and also they have what we call a digital shelf, which is all the information that's captured. If it's images, if it's variation orders, all of this can just be put in as they please into the final report. So instead of spending 3 months on a final report, they can just produce this in a matter of hours. And so yeah, we already have quite a few, a nice reference list, and let's see, I think my time is out, but yeah, it's, I would just say if anyone's listening and want to improve their dry docking projects, making them smarter, please get in touch.
Oh, thank you very much. And what's the main business problem you're solving from a ship owner's perspective? I thought it would be maximizing the efficiency of the dry dock time, but it sounds like it's more about avoiding overcharging. That's what your customers are saying?
It is both. I mean, both are problems. And it depends on a little bit in which area they're. Some areas they have closer relations with the shipyards, and they're sort of closer contact with the prices, the final negotiation. Other places there, and in most cases, there's always this huge surprise at the end, unpleasant surprise at the end. So so that's definitely a big issue that we're solving. And then of course delays are something you would want to avoid, very costly. And with 200 work orders being completed in 10 days, delays are almost, in many cases at least, happening, which is to be expected when it's being solved using Excel. It's human impossible to keep track of everything.
Oh, that's very good. Okay, thank you very much. I'd just like to invite everyone, please send any questions you have through the Q&A box, because maybe the speakers can answer them on typing, or we'll save the questions for later, or we'll have the questions for later. So I'd like to invite our second speaker, Markus Große Böckmann, who's the Managing Director of Oculavis in Aachen in Germany. So they're tackling a very important problem. How do you bring the right expert to do help with a maintenance problem, and making use of all this great technology we have, augmented reality and communications, to connect the right person with the problem. So I'd like to welcome Markus. Cheers.
Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction. I will also start sharing my screen and will directly show you my presentation. Basically, what is our vision is to redefine interactions with machinery and complex equipment. And of course, offshore and even on some onshore parts connected with the maritime industry, we have challenging equipment that needs maintenance and repair support. And sometimes, and especially today in COVID times, it's very hard to get the right experts there. And for that, we provide a software solution together with hardware equipment. We're a company based in Germany with about 50 employees and a revenue of 5 million euros, about 4.5 years old. And to our client base, this means we have a lot of manufacturers of complex machinery and equipment, and also their clients. So it's coming from various industries, but also we have some clients from the maritime industry or connected to the maritime industry. For example, MAN Energy Solutions that use our software platform, for example, for remote inspections. But also, and that is what I will talk about today, the company Boskalis, who use it in dredging. The first images are more on the land side, as you can see, but we will transfer this idea later onto the maritime industry at the hand of the Boskalis company. But typically, if any machinery or equipment has any kind of problems, we have typical situations like this one. We have a machine breakdown, we're sending emails or trying to send something via our phone. Experts have to travel. And in the end, we in general have missing processes in such situations. And we are about to change such situations by redefine how the service and maintenance is done. With our software platforms, clients can have an augmented reality overview if they want, and really see overlaid information, overlaid data, for example, on tablets or smart glasses, and get, for example, machinery documentation or even live data is possible. And in case of the technician is not able to solve the problem by him or herself, we have a remote assistance module in our software platform, where technician connects with the expert, and for example, with the help of such annotations that you can see here, they jointly try to solve the problem. So basically, our software platform can be split up into 3 main modules, and all are connected with assets. We have this AR viewer with the 3D AR overlay around technical equipment that gives you an innovative and also locational information about equipment. We have the workflows, what is basically step-by-step instructions. So giving the operator a chance to solve the problems by himself by going through structured manuals. And we have the remote support to bring really the expertise from the expert there if the expert cannot go there. Our software is running on any kind of mobile devices and also, of course, the PC. And but especially for Boskalis, what I will talk about now, the glasses are playing a major role because they're using it offshore and onshore. And especially offshore, you need to have hands-free and need to work, and the technician might want to see the same, so through your eyes more or less. And for this, these glasses here are quite of interest. Remote presence, what is it in detail, or remote assistance? It's a video communication. You have the possibility to draw on a screen. You can also pause the screen and get high resolution images. So even in low bandwidth environments, we are able to get high quality pictures from the vessel, for example. We have the possibility to have translators in the system, so we can translate chat messages to other languages other than English, so if communication gets harder. And we can document these situations in so-called cases. So we also generate reports about such situations. So we are really covering remote maintenance process here, and it's far more than a simple video call telephony, what we, for example, have here in Zoom. Let me come to the use case. We got Boskalis to know about beginning of this year in the Port XL program in Rotterdam. And they are a leading global dredging and maritime expert company with 9,000 employees, 90 countries around 6 continents. And Boskalis basically is working in the dredging and inland infrastructure, in offshore energy, renewables, and in the harbor towage and also salvage. And here you can see some of their applications. And Boskalis started rolling out the smart glasses first on infrastructure projects, as you can see this here. And they started with basic remote assistance cases. So as you can see here, many of their projects and vessels require assistance from supporting departments or require external experts for repairs on machinery. And especially due to COVID-19, they were no longer able to fly everyone to the vessels for advice, repairs, and site visits. And so they needed a tool that made real-time communication and also real-time documentation possible. And here you see some really live pictures that we're taking with our application, here also with the application on site, where they're using it and supporting the clients. And currently they're implementing the remote assistance after a trial phase on 26 of their large dredging vessels. So their main application fields is communication with production and the fleet support with the Netherlands and repair equipment on the vessels. So, and in the end, dredging is very competitive, so Boskalis looks to maximize the utilization and production of their vessels and minimize their downtimes. And basically, this is something that can perfectly done with remote support in the end. And I think these images here gives you a first idea how this also can be used or is used and is also rolled out in the maritime industry. But let me also give you a very quick jump in our software platform so that you get an idea how this looks like. First of all, you have a contacts list here. And now imagine, for example, there's a colleague somewhere outside on the dredging, on the vessel, and needs some support here. So you basically can just, in our software platform, starting a call. Safety instructions is very important. As I said, it's more than a video call. You're instructing someone. So product liability and personal liability are very important things. And everyone always has to accept certain safety instructions before starting a remote call. You can see me now, I'm at home, and I will call now basically myself on my tablet that is right next to me. To be a bit careful. And unfortunately, I don't have a vessel here, but at least right next to me, there's a little coffee machine, and it gives you a little idea how this looks like. So the expert can just point at certain parts here. For example, please take this part and put it on top of this one. And then the technician on site he can just start working and doing the task that the other one is telling him. So with simple instructions, the other one then sees. And there are some more features, like I can freeze the stream, and then we always load a high resolution image. So whenever there might be a bad bandwidth connection, we can really have a high resolution and really then marking, for example, things, but still see in the preview window what the other one then might do or is working. And on the other side, on the tablet side, he also has this frozen stream and sees here what is going on. So he could also, for example, annotate or do any other annotations here. And by this, really an interaction between two people is happening. Of course, such cases can be also documented and saved. And for this, we can create our cases in the system. I will create a new case now and call it repair of coffee machine. We have a user and rights management, and we can even assign products to it or add further information to that case. And by this, we have a process integrated documentation of the cases inside our system, because in terms of liability, it's often important to later on have documented all the information that you have. All right, and then it's already saved in the system. So this was a quick, very quick introduction of our system and a very quick view on the coffee machine, because I don't have a vessel here, obviously. But with these images here, you can see that this is running and it's in the rollout phase, really also in the maritime industry. thank you very much for your time and your attention.
Wow, thank you very much. And that's very, very brave. Live demonstration as a webinar. I don't think I've ever seen that done, done before. Well done. Yeah, I can see there's multiple technical challenges all happening at once. You've got to get the right index aligned with the right job, and you've got to get all this AR stuff working. You've got to get the case management working, and there's probably another bunch of technical challenges I haven't even seen. Yeah, very, very impressive.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I had to be quick for that.
Yeah. That's great.
Maybe a good idea. Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll go on to Lena and leave all the questions for the end. But so finally, I'd like to invite Lena Normann Olson, who's a sales executive with Vesselman, and so it's also we're looking at dry dock planning and also other tasks like layups and scrubber installations. So it's a setting up a master plan, planning and budgeting, and Vesselman is also in Oslo. So I'd like to welcome Lena, please.
Hi. All right, I will share my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, my name is Lene Normann Olsen, and I work for a company called Vesselman. So Vesselman is a project management tool for dry docking and technical management processes. Our ambition is to get the industry to understand the need of digital solutions and to see the benefits that brings with it. I joined Vesselman in February this year, so it's been a rough start based on COVID-19, but it also has been very interesting. I have a background from commercialization, business development, and digital transformation processes. On the picture here, you can see my first and unfortunately last time that I went to a dry dock together with my CEO, Glenn, but it will not be the last. So compared to me, like Glenn on the other side has been sailing for many years and has completed multiple dry dockings and technical projects himself. And I believe that the combination of our expertise is what we need to convince our client that there is a potential for digitizing. So Glenn has the background from technical understanding of what is needed throughout a technical project, and I come in with a digital aspect to understand and pinpoint the potential. We are a team of 11 people. This is my colleague Vår, which is a marine engineer at the yard in Durban last year, together with one of our clients, PGS. And we believe that diversity in the team is very important. So, of course, I have to mention, I think it's great that we have 2 females on board, but also diversity when it comes to backgrounds. So we have had a focus on getting young and energetic people into the company, but also focus on the core heavyweighters when it comes to IT, development, and the maritime sector. The first thing I'd like to talk about is digitalize versus to digitize. A lot of people doesn't know the difference between these 2 terms, and I totally understand why. It took me quite some time too. And digitalization is really the usage of digital technology and innovation of new solutions and ways of working to solve a challenge. Digitize, on the other side, is much easier because it's really about converting existing workload into a digital format. So when you're moving an industry, as the maritime industry, into digitalization, is very scary for many, and it's a huge process with a lot of change, and you probably need to put in the change management on top of it, and it will take a lot of time. But digitizing, as I said, is much easier because there's so many great existing routines and processes that you can put into a digital format. For the past 7 months that I've been to Vesselman, I've seen some cases where some of our clients has been using Word documents where they have highlighted colored fonts to track progress on their projects. I also seen Excel sheets with more tabs than I thought was possible in Excel, and also Word documents with hundreds of pages of descriptions for their specifications. And this is what we have structured and standardized in a cloud-based platform in Vesselman. So how do we do that? How do we make it as efficient, user-friendly, and enable collaboration? we have created something called a master plan. So a master plan is built with standard steps with a high-level plan, which then will be divided into sub-stages. The master plan covers the standard processes of different projects and is configurable with our clients' existing processes. So today we have master plans when it comes to dry docking, scrubber installations, smart repairs, mobilization. We also have master plans for sales processes, but I want to go into the master plan for dry dock. So there we have the best practices for how to complete the dry docking. So it's 5 steps. So we start with the planning step, which includes then the high-level plan and the budget, and you have to complete those to go into the specification phase. And then we're heading over to quotation. You're getting the quotes from the yard, you're comparing the yards, and then you're going in repair mode. So you're actually at the dock. And then after that, summary and evaluating the project. So then you have all the data stored in the on the cloud-based platform. We believe that this helps the ship owners to structure and standardize their work, and it enables collaboration across borders, across teams, and it also connects the management with the day-to-day operations. The second part that I would like to talk about is integration. So I knew that integration and integrating solutions was very important in other industries. I also knew it was important in the maritime industry, but I didn't think it was that important. And I don't think the ship owners also knows how important it actually is. And it's also super complex. So to clarify, when I'm talking about integration, having a project management tool like Vesselman will being integrated into the plant maintenance systems. So the plant maintenance systems today are moving into new business areas. That's based on the requests and needs from their clients. And they see a potential of expanding their services, of course. But we believe that staying focused on what you're best at and not focusing on developing everything yourself, because it takes so much time. And if you want to have the best solutions working together, you would need a seamless integration of the expertise areas to get the best of everything. And that's why I'm using this metaphorical parallel on the picture, because this is a Thai restaurant in Bangkok. And I'm sure they deliver brilliant Thai food, but I assume that they don't deliver the best pizzas, burgers, pastas, and sandwiches. And what I mean with this is that delivering everything will have a cost on your core business, because it takes away time and it takes away focus. So our ambition is to be an interoperable solution. This means that we can talk to and provide data back and forth to the relevant solutions. The complexity I mentioned earlier is based on the client's needs and their way of working. So today I'm very excited that we have been funded by the EU Commission and Innovation Norway, together with Olsen's systems in Greece, to create a standard API, which means that it will be easier to connect to all the depending tools to a vessel. I want to bring up, just as Markus did, the working remote. If I can manage to, okay, there, working remote. So we have to get used to the new now, because this is happening. We might not be fully prepared, but that's why we have tools like Vesselman, for example. And it's essential today based on, especially then COVID-19. And it's been eye-opener for many, but it's essential for running projects and day-to-day operations. Like I said here as well, it is and it will be more important than ever before. We have been affected by this as well, and I know that the ship owners and the ship management has, but based on these 4 points, because travel restrictions, we are prevented to go to our clients, we're prevented to go to yards and to the vessels. People are getting laid off or suddenly get on sick leave. Where's all the data stored of the project? Where are they in the process? We don't want to do double work. So it's good to have everything stored on a cloud-based platform that enables collaboration and transparency. Home office, like I said, this is the new now. And accessibility to people, to vessels, to clients, suppliers, and to the yards. This picture, for example, is from the same yard as you saw earlier in Durban with PGS. I think it's a great picture, but I want to follow up with a short story on travel restrictions, because it also shows the flexibility of the solution and the flexibility you have to have as a company if you're entering digital solutions. So we had a client that was going into a dry dock earlier this year. Then COVID-19 hit. The dry dock got postponed. The ship had to get laid up outside the coast of the UK. The superintendent was stuck in Norway. The crew was stuck on board because they couldn't get off the ship because of the border restrictions. So we sat down with the superintendent. We built a master plan for layups. We didn't have a master plan for layups at that time because lucky enough, it hasn't been that big of a problem earlier. But so we sat down with the superintendent and built the master plan, had a fully description of each stage that the crew needed to follow, because who knows the ship better than the crew and the captain. So we put up the whole specification list. We connected with the crew and the captain that went through with the mobile app and the web application and started completing progress of the project. So the crew was walking around with the mobile app taking pictures. The superintendent was getting live updates from the crew, and they managed to deactivate the ship together, working remote. So I would say that here we have managed to have our customers turning fast. We have been able to turn fast ourselves. We work with lean methodology, which I think is a great way to work. And it also shows how flexible the solution is. I would like to finish up with a quote that says, "Change has never happened this fast before and will never happen this slow ever again." And I think it's fascinating to see how fast we're moving today. And it's almost impossible to understand where we're heading. And I recommend you to digitize your processes as well. And last slide, as Bjørn Simonsen from Nel Hydrogen said under his presentation earlier this year, I think it's hilarious. He said, "Thanks for the ride, dinosaurs. We'll take it from here." Thank you.
Very, very good. Yeah, no, that's great. There's a lot of energy happening there, I think, isn't it? And
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I'd like to invite all the speakers back in, just as a sort of warm-up question. So, since we're involved in maintenance software events 20 years ago, and there were no interest, and the shipping companies just wouldn't spend money on what was needed. It was quite easy to work out what they could do, but just the budgets weren't there. But I guess that's also changing. But also the costs of doing these things is going down. But would you like to share some views? What do you think the mood is among your customers? I mean, I don't think anybody else has said the shipping industry is changing fast, but it's certainly changing. But is that something you'd like to share thoughts on? Maybe start with Lena.
So can you just say the question again?
How do you think that the mood in the shipping industry is changing in regards to people's willingness to engage with this kind of stuff?
I for sure think the industry is ready for change, and also we see a generation coming into the industry that is keen to see change. And we also see that a lot of ship owners are hiring people to optimize their solutions today. I also had I wrote an article on LinkedIn the other day about ship tech, the term, and I think that's interesting because that doesn't exist. We do have maritech. But maritech is more about the green ocean. We have prop tech within properties, which I feel like has changed the whole industry because everyone is involved with the term. But in the shipping area, I don't think we've seen the change yet, but I think we're on our way to see it.
Right. Yeah.
And I also think that we also need the anchor with the management and the superintendent, because if we don't have that, nobody would actually go for a change, because this is a culture that the management can't just put a hat onto the day-to-day operations and do a change. You need to have the anchor within the whole organization.
Yeah, I mean the whole organization is not going to change in the sense that companies are running ships in 20 years' time as they were 20 years ago, but how they engage with digital technology is changing, isn't it? But that's an argument I often get into.
Absolutely. But I think it's interesting. Sorry, now I'm talking a lot, but I think it's interesting that we have, for example, dry dockings, which is very costly projects, and we're running everything in. Like, I would say 90% of the industry is running everything in Excel, Word, while you have big tools that actually can help you to reduce cost, it can help you to reduce time, but they still haven't managed to understand. And that's what I said with our ambition. We're trying to get the industry to understand that digital solutions has benefits for them.
Yeah.
I don't know if Sasan has seen any other
No,
differences.
I agree. I mean, I started my first company 6 years ago in the space, or in the maritime space, and definitely things have changed. Not all for the better, I would say. I think people are getting fed up with there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of talk with like buzzwords, and I think that's contaminating the entire discussion around innovation. I think some people are getting fed up, but that's, except for that, people are moving in the right direction. I would say, I would note that we do have ShipTech. I started ShipTech meetup 3 years ago, but it didn't spread. So I get your point. Yeah, we only had 3 meetups, but yeah, we have a lot of people but still, your point is still it's still a good point though, because the problem is that it's not it's not as established as in other industries. If you go to prop tech or in sort of insurance or financial side of things, there's still a lot of skepticism. So we have come a long way in 6 years. I would say we would still need to come a long way still. And I think in order to get sort of the remaining journey, I don't know what to call it, we need to just prove ourselves. We technology companies, we need to prove our case, show the value, and sort of compensate for all the other talk that's been for at least a few years ago. I felt like there was a lot of just hype around innovation, not only in our industry, in every industry. And I think people all over just had enough. So yeah, we can prove that's still the right thing to focus on.
Markus, do you want to share thoughts on how you think the maritime industry is changing in regards to how people are willing to engage with these kind of solutions?
Yeah, we honestly joined the maritime industry first with MAN and their application, their engines and motors. And second part, this Port XL program in Rotterdam, and there we met Oslo, for example. And it was obvious that in this program, a lot of offers are coming from the digital part. And so, I mean, also the offering changes a little bit how the people see the market, I guess, and not just us, but also, of course, other companies in that program. And so I think digitalization is all aware. Specific for us, it's really that COVID is kind of a game changer on site, but also offshore, where the people say, okay, now we really need that. And we know we really see the business value, because, I mean, when you cannot travel, then what would you do? Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'd just like to invite everybody to put any questions you have in the Q&A box. But so my second question, sort of picking on what Sasan was saying, and so this data management versus glitzy side. So a lot of this stuff is really, really difficult data management, and data management is kind of as interesting as cleaning the fridge to a lot of people. It's and that's a bit you've really got to get right, because this machinery is either working or it's not working. But on the other hand, you've got this kind of glitzy side, which is all the augmented reality and the Google glasses and the nice user interfaces. And I think you do need this glitzy side, because the other side is just not interesting enough. So if people are getting fed up of jargon, maybe it's a bit, I don't know. Do you want to have any thoughts on? Well, I guess it's selling this stuff is what it comes down to, isn't it? Because it's very, very difficult to sell a lot of the time. I don't know, maybe you start with Sasan on that one, is it?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of focus on different technologies in our industry, and not necessarily on the different applications. So we've seen technologies, and we use terms as machine learning, Bitcoin, and so on, and we just see them as this solutions in themselves in a way. Instead, they should be like from a toolbox almost, things that can be applied, but it's the application, how you actually do it, that matters. And to do that, you need a cultural change, and you need to have people with you. Now, you need to have if you want to change an organization, and I say this with my own experience before I started my own company, you can't do it if people are skeptical to what you do. So then you have to, incrementally get people on board. Usually, if it's department by department or person by person, you have to prove to them that this solution is going to help you, and not just like the term or the buzzword is going to sort of, you invest in Bitcoin and suddenly life is going to be better. And people naturally get skeptical to that over time because it doesn't solve anything. And there's just a lot of different articles, and I talk to companies that have a lot of projects going on, and I sort of feel like it's a lot of money spent and on people who are going to end up more skeptical. But that's one part. On the other side, we have a lot of companies, a lot of also projects in entrepreneurs inside the larger companies, a lot of exciting stuff going on. And I think people are slowly sort of getting around to accepting various parts of change. And that's sort of what it all comes down to in the end. Do they accept and want change or not?
Yeah. Markus, because I see your offering as two hands. You've got, it's augmented reality. A lot of people think that that's kind of almost part of the sales, perhaps, but the other half of it is the connecting a task with an expert. That's really, really difficult digital challenge, because indexing expertise is something I don't think anybody's solved yet. But I suppose you use the one to sell the other. Is that how you see it, or you see both parts as? I don't know if that's a complicated question.
In general, to come back to your first sentences, you need the glitzy world to sell things in the beginning, but then you need to put it on the ground. I think that's the important thing. So it's more about, like Sasan said, also it's about processes and applications and less about technology. But technology can be a marketing push and support you to show your stuff. But in the end, it's not about that. And in the end, you have to convince in the existing processes. I've just seen in the Q&A, there was the question about, can you integrate into existing systems, because we already have that. I think that the question was to Sasan, not to me. But for us, it's totally important to integrate into the existing world, because to really make the change going from Excel to real process supporting applications, and this is absolutely mandatory. And so integration of software components is relevant and necessary.
Yeah, and Lena, so you've studied digitalization and you've studied marketing. So they're the two most amazing subjects are relevant here, I think, aren't they? I do
want to say something about how to actually sell the solutions into a, I would say, rather conservative and traditional industry. So what our biggest selling points has been is that we're developed, like our solution is developed by superintendents for superintendents. I think that's a very good, it's a very important fact to bring on the table, because that's how our roadmap has been the whole way. Like, we're talking to our clients all the time. So we have 20 plus clients that actually has built the solution with us. So for example, we had a client coming to us saying that we would like to benchmark all our projects. All right, so we created a benchmark model. You can actually benchmark all the parts, which is also then a good negotiation tool for the yards, because you can see, okay, but last time we did this. So I think that's one of the biggest pinpoints for us when we talk to clients, that we are building this together with you. And since the cloud-based solution, if we develop something for someone else, you will also get the changes. You will always have the best and updated version of the tool.
Yeah, domain expertise is a wonderful subject. I guess come back to Markus then. So your whole solution is about getting the right expert connected with the right problem, isn't it? So I guess how well you do that is how well your software is going to work, isn't it? I suppose, and how to make tools that people really aren't engaging with and solve their problems.
Yeah, sure. But you have to mirror your organization in our tool, for example, with a certain team and team management and description of your experts, are also connecting experts with assets is possible in our system. So there are some hints. I didn't show everything, of course, of our software now, but there you can connect the experts with the technicians on site. Yeah, I think in the end, and also I think 2 of the 3 questions in the Q&A went to that, is the question is about connectivity for us as well, because if I need to have a remote expert, how to handle that. And this is but where also the satellite providers are working now on, and we have starting a partnership with one, for example, to handle that topic, because this is more important. If you know you need help, you will find the expert anyhow. It's just a matter how, of course, the software can support, but you will find him. But connectivity is still an issue that need to be taken a look at.
Unfortunately, though, they don't really know that they need help yet, and that's what we have to.
Yeah, but that's a cultural thing, and I mean, before it was also in on-site applications. The easiest thing of a technician is, oh, I sent you my colleague, and he will fix your problem, and this is not happening anymore. And I think that's cultural change, and this is coming, and especially with changing. Especially with the technicians changing, new technicians coming in, younger technicians, it's fine for them. But you're right, of course, I can fix everything by myself.
Yeah. I would like to add on the integration. Sorry, I would like to just add on the integration part. I think that's, I mean, for us, it's been a part of our philosophy from day one. You know, nobody wants standalone products. And since everyone in our team is a tech head, we're sort of taking that into consideration. So our entire software is built on APIs. Like everything between front end and back end is built is talking to each other through endpoints. Those endpoints are what you need then to integrate. So we don't need any project or anything for that matter. We have all the API documentation to integrate with any planned maintenance system, any communication tool, anything you're using in your organization. We can integrate. Or we can even provide it. So, some organizations have their own IT departments. They want to do this themselves. And then like in any other industry, I think ship tech shouldn't be an exception. They should be able to get API documentation, and we just provide that. And if they want to, if they can't do that, which is the case for a lot of ship owning companies, then we help them. It's not really a big issue in terms of technical side from building a software, if with the right team. The problem, I would say, in our industry is it takes 2 to tango, and a lot of the companies that you should have to communicate with to build those integrations are not always. Either they have some technical debt, as it's called, taking some bad decisions a long time ago, which is a result of having been around for a long time, or they have some, which I would like to call cultural debt. They think it's better to stay on their own, which Lena also touched upon. And those 2 issues are what I would say is essentially costing the user a lot, because that's what's keeping the user's information potentially in silos. But
we should come to these questions here, because we've got some questions. Vida, do you want to choose a question and pick somebody to ask it to?
Yeah, I think the great question is about challenges. So what are top 3 challenges you see getting ship managers and owners on board? I also think that people need to try out somehow working with the tool, and how do you do that?
Who do you want to give that one to?
I would.
Yeah, let's start with Sasan.
If nobody else is going, I'll take it. I would say, I don't know top 3, but I would say at least just the willingness to change, not only for the person you're talking to, but that person's perception of the rest of the organization's willingness to change is often, sometimes they might want to change something, be a part of something themselves, but they don't want to, they're afraid how the rest of the organization will sort of take it. So it comes down a lot to organizational culture, at least in my experience. And I'm sure Lena and Markus have some other.
Okay, I'll go. So what we have seen in the industry is that they're extremely pressed on their budgets and money. And I think having a focus on the potential cost savings here is a very important factor. But the way we go towards our clients is to run a pilot with them, because we trust our solutions so well that we know if they have tried it on one vessel, they would probably move on to more vessels. And we don't really want clients that are not open for the change and doesn't want to use it anyways. So for example, for Maersk tankers, we have run a pilot with them now for a year, and now we managed to get their whole fleet into the solution, because having a pilot testing out the solution was very necessary for them to be able to roll it out on the fleet.
Oh, well, Markus, do you want to take this question on connectivity issues? So I guess it's quite a big issue for you, isn't it?
There another one. Yeah, okay. Will connectivity issues influence your solutions? Any specific communication needs? Well, yes, of course, in general. I mean, you need a certain bandwidth to transfer a high resolution image. That's for sure. So the lower the bandwidth, the lower is the quality of your image. We have one feature in our system where you can pause the video and then you get a high resolution image. So that means it's taking a snapshot with a high resolution, and then it's sending it until it's there. And this is sometimes very, very helpful, especially when you have low bandwidth available. And but on the other hand side, it's of course the better the connectivity, the better is in general the usage of the system. But I think that's, yeah, I mean, obvious. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot more SATCOMs available now than there used to be. I guess that's a big difference, isn't it, too?
Yeah, yeah.
And I heard that Sasan also said that in his presentation, that their mobile app also works offline and online. And I think that's very important, because so many of the dry dockings are happening in Asia with low connectivity, and being able to run progress, track progress on your projects while being offline is also extremely expensive in Asia. So being able to log on, or when you get back on Wi-Fi or when you get service, I think that's a very important factor as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Only for remote support, it's not helping you. For live remote support, it's not helping you. That's the only thing.
Yeah, but you will probably get to the hotel later.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's being able to, images are a big thing.
Of course, you can save the video then and store it in the system. Of course, that always works. But yeah, sure. For live remote support, you also need a live connection. That's no way around.
Yeah. That would be the next invention.
Yeah, that would be a great invention.
Oh, that's great.
Well, I also have one thing to. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I was going to leave it to Vida to make the concluding remarks, but you can say if it's just a minute or something. We've got 2 minutes left, I think.
Yeah, any last comments? I think we answered the questions. Yeah. There is one from Michael about connectivity, so I think and integration, we answered that as well. And the question about AI and machine learning, how it's connecting, how it's affecting people, it's maybe too broad for those 2 minutes. So Lena, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, based on the challenges of getting ship managers and owners on board, we have exposed ourselves for different segments, because we see that there are some class requirements and other requirements for tankers, for example, and then there are for offshore and for cruise lines. So we have managed to find the right criteria, and that's how we have exposed ourselves for the different segments, I would say. So that's also, I would say, a trick on how we're attracting our clients.
I'd like to inform everyone who joined today that Digital Ship did a series of interviews with startups, and particularly with startups working in maintenance field. So I invite you to download the August-September issue and learn more about Vesselman, Maindeck, and Oculavis, and few other startups working specifically for maintenance effectiveness. So thank you for joining today. I invite you to visit the website webinars.digitalship.com and see for more of our upcoming webinars. Thank you for connecting and tuning in today. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Bye bye.